Welcome to a special episode of Reflections from WT, the heart and soul of the Texas Panhandle. I'm your host, Randy Ray, and today is going to be a really different and kind of, like I mentioned earlier, a special episode. I have a couple of special guests with me today. As always with me, I have the president of West Texas A&M, Dr. Walter Wendler, and our special guest today is Texas A&M University System Board of Regents Vice Chairman, Elaine Mendoza. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
I've been looking forward to today. In 1990, West Texas State University became part of the Texas A&M University system. And I was living in Tennessee at the time, and my family called, and I had friends call me and tell me that had happened. And just to be perfectly honest, I had misgivings about it. I didn't know what was going to happen to my university. I had always bled maroon. I was a Buffalo at heart. But after working here 15 years, I can tell you I truly believe that it has been a fantastic move for the university. So just on behalf of people that work at WT and have graduated from WT, thank you for all you do for us.
Well, you're kind and generous, and I'm so happy to hear that indeed you came back to your home and you felt it was still home.
It is.
That's what it's all about. Is each of the component universities of the Texas A&M system are unique and need to stay unique.
Yeah, I tell people I came back to WT in 2002, and boy, just how the campus has completely changed since then. Since I left in 1984, I come back, and man, it's almost like a different place, but it still has the same personality. So it's really great. So, Vice Chairman Mendoza, I just want to ask you, what is a regent, and what does a regent do?
Okay. Well, depending on who you ask, it could be bad or good. I don't know. But regents are appointed by the governor for a 6-year term. He, the governor of the state, appoints 9 members, 3 every 2 years, every biennium. We are charged with the fiduciary responsibilities of the system. We are charged with policy setting at the system level. In truth, we employ one person, and that's the chancellor of the system. Everybody else works for the chancellor.
So you find the chancellor?
Yeah.
The regents find the chancellor?
Yes, absolutely. We hire and fire the chancellor. We also have a responsibility to the taxpayers of the state in order to invest those state dollars the best we can, and mostly to ensure that every student that comes through the Texas A&M system is prepared to succeed in the workforce, in the military, or whatever occupation of choice that they have.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about being a regent?
Wow. The students,
yeah,
focusing on enabling their dreams to come true, focusing on making sure that our institutions are indeed putting all the support systems together, as well as a top-notch faculty, as well as a top-notch staff, in order to enable our students to be successful.
Yeah. So your education is in aerospace engineering,
That's
is that
correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How has that served you as being a regent?
It's about analytics. It's about being able to solve problems. It's about pinpointing areas that need more attention and making sure that we are focused in the right areas in order to make sure that we're delivering on the promise of higher ed.
Yeah. Well, we are a regional institution. Let me ask you this. What are the roles of the Texas A&M University System regional institution?
You know, we've already said each one is unique.
Yeah.
And through that uniqueness comes the ability to serve students in that area, in that community. It's about access. Texas is a huge, huge state. There's no way all of our young people can gravitate to 1, 2, 3, 4 campuses. We have to have access. It's about ensuring that we solve problems and have the workforce, i.e. our students that graduate, to enable communities to flourish by making sure that they have the capacity and the knowledge and the skills to, if they choose, stay in that community and bring it to the next level, no matter what industry is in that region. It's also about economic development for the community, having folks like yourself and President Wendler, all the faculty and staff that are here, making a home, building the community up. That enables a lot of growth and whatnot. Then focused areas in research and technology that may not matter to others in the country or in the state, but are very pertinent to this region, is a focus of each one of our institutions.
Yeah, and I know Dr. Wendler totally agrees with you about that. He has visited the top 26 counties in the Texas Panhandle. And Dr. Wendler, speak to that a little bit. How we talk about that a lot on our podcast, but how is WT truly the heart and soul of the Texas Panhandle?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Randy. And Regent Mendoza's view on this is, and somebody would say, listener might say, well, he's just saying that because he's sitting there next to him. But the fact of the matter is, we are absolutely committed to serving the Texas Panhandle first and what our needs are here, because we can replicate all sorts of things, but we cannot replicate geography. And what is here, the nature of the people, the industry, and the businesses that have grown up here, they need to be tended to very carefully because they're important, and they're an important part of Texas. Most people may know this, but 35% of the beef consumed in the United States is produced within 100 miles of Canyon, Texas, where we are. That's an important industry. There's a lot of oil and gas that's still produced up here. If you look a little bit south of us and look at what's going on in Midland and Odessa, mm-hmm. I drove down to Midland not long ago, and I was through a place where they had a kind of a community parking lot for all the drilling rigs that were out there, yeah. And they were bussing. I could see it. They were bussing these oil field workers back and forth from one big parking lot to probably 10 or 12 companies poking holes in the ground out there. This is an important part of the state. And there's a culture here that has great value in West Texas. And we talk about what our engineering programs and business programs, our ag programs, what they do for this part of the world. But the fact of the matter is, there is higher quality symphony, opera, ballet in Amarillo, Texas, than in many cities 2 or 3 times the size of Amarillo, and that's for one reason: West Texas A&M University. We produce those people right here in this building, in the college you're part of, right
in
here.
This $32 million building that the A&M system helped us build.
Yes, yeah, they have been. And by the way, that is, I'm glad you and Regent Mendoza addressed that, because our relationship is very powerful. We're planning next year. Will be the 2020 will be the 30th anniversary of our membership in the region, and we're trying to get. I actually had lunch with Boone Pickens not long ago, trying to get him to come up here and celebrate that thing. I don't know if he will or he won't, but anyway, I would love to have him come up for that, because he was the chairman of the board when that happened, the chairman of West Texas State University Board. So,
yeah. Let me ask you both this: should a regional institution try and serve beyond their region?
You want me to go first? I'll go first, Vice Chair. I think what happens is that when you serve the region well, even if you encase that region with, say, a border wall so that people couldn't get in or out, the word will somehow ooze out of the region if it's being well served. Mm-hmm. Two-legged marketeers will do the job for you. So if we serve people in the Texas Panhandle well, people in Houston and Dallas and San Antonio are going to find out about it. Some parents may want their recent high school graduates, for example, in an environment that's different than an urban or suburban center. And this is, as I told a young lady from Katy, Texas one day, just after I got here, happened to be an African-American woman, I asked her, how are you getting along up here? She said, well, it's different. And I said, but are you enjoying it? She said, well, I do, but it's so different. And I said, well, you can actually treat this as an international study experience, and you never had to cross the state line because it is such a different culture up here. And I think when we do our job well up here, the news will travel. But first and foremost, we have to serve locally.
Do you feel the same
Absolutely.
way?
The core of the institution and the core of the priorities that they aim to meet and exceed should be the unique part of the campus. But to bring in others from outside of this world is a good thing. Those that are coming, like a young lady from Katy coming in to this institution, to this community, needs to learn about this institution and learn from the folks here, and vice versa. There's just so much more cultural exchange and robustness and understanding each other that yield great benefits than to say, no, just people from this region. That's not going to work.
Well, I totally agree with you.
Randy, if I can interject just one other thing, and I've told myself I'm not going to talk too much because I usually talk too much, but I do want to say this. We just started our new doctorate in education, and it's focused on small school systems. And there was some, not real pushback, but people said, well, gosh, we're going to run out of people in small school systems. Well, 20% of the United States exists in small school systems, K-12 schools that often get overlooked for the major metropolitan areas. And the fact of the matter is, we took in our first cohort in this brand new program in January. We thought we would have 15 students. We had 36. We thought all of them would be from Texas. They're not. We have people from Central Florida because people in Central Florida recognize that the education programs at Florida State and the University of Florida, those are geared towards major metropolitan and suburban regions. What we've got here is an approach to training administrators and school leaders that's attentive to the needs of people in smaller communities. I had one superintendent that I had talked with. He had a pre-K through 12 school with 140 kids in it, so it's just about 10 students per year. And he told me he had been in the household of every student that went to that school. Now, he didn't have to go to 140 because they're obviously siblings and so on. I mean, maybe went to half that many. Yeah. But the bottom line is he knew those families, he knew where they came from. And if we can serve small schools like that in our region, we had this effort just recently and reached out to all the 1A and 2A schools in the state of Texas, and we're getting a response on that. I'm getting emails from principals in places afar that say, gosh, we really appreciate this. We've got people that we think WT would serve well. So I think that it reinforces Regent Mendoza's point, that when we serve well, it'll be of value to others.
Yeah, I do too.
Anyway.
I do too. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Vice Chairman Mendoza about some of her passions. All right, we'll be back in just a second.
West Texas A&M University is a student body that learns by doing and is always seeking opportunity. Talented and accomplished faculty that teach both in and out of the classroom. Programs that provide timeless information and meet the challenges of today's world. Facilities rich in technology as well as WT history. Now is the time to strengthen connections and open doors for tomorrow's leaders. Share your experience, share your heritage, share your pride.
Welcome back to Reflections from WT, the heart and soul of the Texas Panhandle. Today we're talking to Vice Chairman Elaine Mendoza, who is one of the System Board of Regents, and she's paid us a visit today. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a couple of things that you're passionate about. One thing is the advancement of women and minorities in engineering and technology and science. Talk a little bit about that. Why are you passionate about that?
Thank you for asking. Well, no one could have predicted how much technology would really change things. We knew it was coming, but the extent to which it is rapidly changing things and making the world, in some cases, a better place, in some cases, more challenging. And if you take a look at the workforce, the current workforce in science, engineering, and technology, we are going to have an aging out. And the numbers coming in are not as much as those that are aging out. And with technology being more integrated into our daily lives, it's real important that we have more of that workforce coming in, especially our young, bright talent. If you take a look at the population, if we were to segment the demographics of those that are aging out, it's much different than those that are coming in, or the population of the 18 to 22-year-olds right now. And if we were able to get more women and underrepresented minorities into science and technologies, there would be plenty, enough to fill the seats that are going to be vacated, right, as well as even expand it more. We just haven't had traditionally those demographics entering science, engineering, and technology. So it's real important, not to mention everybody brings such unique perspectives. And in order to solve big problems and in order to address and make a difference, issues of the day, we need all the brain power we can get from those different perspectives to come up with the best solution. And just as we spoke about WT having an influx of folks from all over the state and or outside the state makes for a better place, the same thing with solving problems.
Diversity.
Absolute diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, diversity from experience, all culminates in a much better solution.
Well, WT definitely agrees with you. Our Dean of Engineering, Dr. Emily Hunt, is a female and does a fantastic job. We had her on the podcast a few weeks ago, and just fascinating to hear her story. Dr. Wendler, would you speak to that too? How does WT back her up on that?
Well, I think here, and again, I'm going to go back to the Panhandle. The Panhandle is a certain toughness. There's a tradition here and so on that is it's in many ways conventional, but there's also a certain toughness. And I think when a person can do the job, those are the people that rise to the top. I would say that Regent Mendoza is an example of that. And I think there are many females and minorities in various disciplines. And in this part of the world, if you can do the job, that's what matters. It's a kind of pragmatism about performance. I call it performance pragmatism. You do the job, you get the job. That's what causes people to advance. What I appreciate so much about Dr. Hunt is that she, as a matter of fact, I presented a copy of one of the books to Regent Mendoza on reaching out to children, because that's where it has to start. In a previous life, I went to a community one time that was a very poor rural community. And everybody there, the young men aspired to be, this is an oversimplification, but it'll make the point, aspired to be a truck driver. The women aspired to be hairdressers. That was the community. It was a tiny community, and their aspirations, and not that those are both dignified ways to make a living. There's no question about that. But there is, when you get a group of people together, there is a much more sundry mix of aspirations. And I think that's what happens when we bring different kinds of people into different disciplines. In an odd way, our nursing program is increasingly becoming more male than it was. And males bring different perspectives of nursing to the nursing program.
Well, I think for many years, for decades, I would say, young people, back to Dr. Wendler's point of starting early, is exactly right. Sometimes you can't dream it if you don't know it exists.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about how many young golfers got in the game because Tiger Woods was there. Yeah. Also for females, studies show, especially in middle school girls aspire to do something that makes a difference. And they don't see science and engineering fields that people make a difference in, although that's exactly what they do. Yeah. And so there was not a lot of communication. And the stereotypes of scientists and engineers perpetuate that. Mm-hmm. If you take a look at, draw a scientist contest that was held nationwide to middle schoolers, you have a very typical picture of what a scientist looks like. Young women, in particular, don't want to aspire to be this recluse or et cetera, the stereotype, until we start breaking those, like Dr. Hunt. Yeah. What a great example. Then young people will know they can aspire to do things, and we have to incorporate the statement and the truth that engineers and scientists make a difference in people's lives, can make things better. So it's real important that we do this.
I totally agree, and I'm really proud of the fact that over here in the Media Communication Department at West Texas A&M, we're very diverse, and I love that. In fact, our two student leaders at our campus radio station are both female. Our general manager and our program director, both female. The general manager is Hispanic, and the program director is African American. I love that. I love that we are so diverse over here. Which I think it makes us stronger. I
agree with you. It's like biodiversity. It does create strength. The other thing is that it breaks a preconception about West Texas. That there's just a bunch of old guys, cattle ranchers and oilmen and so on and so forth. And there's some of that, but and that's not necessarily all bad. It's just that it breaks that preconception. I still say it's performance pragmatism. You get the job done. You can run the radio station. You're running the radio station. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Let me ask you just real briefly. Another thing you're passionate about is healthcare and economic growth in rural areas. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Well, I just don't see how you decouple educational attainment away from having access to great health care. It starts with maternal care of the mother in pregnancy, and it continues on throughout the life of an individual. I mean, if you're sick, not feeling well, if you have an impairment of any sort that is none identified as you're young, that puts barriers on you.
How do you learn?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we've got to find a way to eliminate that barrier, and being able to diagnose problems early, be able to have a maintenance program. I can't get over how much millions of dollars are spent by industry to maintain equipment. They're earning assets, whether it's a robot, a drill press, I mean, you name it. Industry pays a lot of dollars in maintenance, which is nothing but a wellness program for their equipment. Mm-hmm. Imagine the power of being able to ensure that our best and brightest resource, bar none, the human being, has that kind of investment with respect to wellness, with making sure that we are well, quote unquote, maintained and so forth. The power that can be unleashed is tremendous. You can't decouple access to health care from educational attainment from the very beginning.
Well, I can hear the passion in your voice when you talk about that. Yeah, very passionate about that. I appreciate that. It is tradition that on all of our podcasts that I throw a curveball. So I'm going to throw you one. You ready?
I hope so.
This is not too tough.
Okay.
Let's think back to 12-year-old Elaine Mendoza. What was your dream job back then?
To be an astronaut.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you would be a Board of Regent member, especially vice chairman?
Not at all.
And when I was 12, I didn't have a clue.
I didn't even know
what that
they
even
exist.
was. Yeah.
Right. Even when I went to A&M, I didn't know there was a Board of Regents. But my mother is a lifelong educator. She just retired. And educational attainment changed radically the economic situation of our family, because my parents put themselves through school while we were going to school. There's just, I just feel like education is the great equalizer. It's the great enabler. It ensures democracy and the democratic process by getting folks engaged in community and so forth. So I felt, at least myself, that being able to participate and volunteer, I wasn't blessed with the education gene that these great educators have. But I could do something in parallel to enable them to do their thing. No, I did not know there was a Board of Regents, nor did I ever dream that I would be on the board. But
I think
it's been a real privilege.
I think I figured this out. What if, I think this would make you happy, what if the Texas A&M University system put a regional institution on Mars? Mm-hmm. There you go.
I would do that.
I
would have to visit there and do a podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah. So maybe we can get that done in the future sometime.
That would be nice.
Well, it has been just a treat to talk to you today.
It's been my privilege.
Thank you for visiting our campus, and thank you for taking care of us. Dr. Wendler, as always, good to talk to you, sir.
Same, Randy. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful.
West Texas A&M is very important to our system in our state. And one of our duties, as I mentioned to you early on, is to deliver back to the taxpayer. What a better way than to hold up and ensure that West Texas A&M continues on its growth, continues on its success, and builds upon all the alumni that you all have doing great things. That's how we pay the taxpayers back. So thank you.
Well, on that note, we will thank you, our listeners, for joining us today for Reflections from WT, the heart and soul of the Texas Panhandle. Be sure and join us again next time.